All right, so I will do the first item is to call our organizational meeting together for the Jamaica Select Board. It is Monday, May 10th. And the first item there is to elect the Select Board officers. I'll
make a
take
motion
any-
to nominate Greg Melmans as chair of the Jamaica Select Board.
I second that motion.
I will accept that nomination. So I don't recall, this is probably something I should, I mean, is it,
Do we vote on that or do we
need
just?
to vote? Yeah. I mean, I think the rest of the appointments are really appointments, but this is more to elect the office.
No, the officers are, you vote, right? Because it's official. And then the other stuff's just like, I want to be the town hall person.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly what I was saying, but different words. Yeah, exactly.
And then we can fight
So
about
all in favor of have me reside over this group for the next 10 months? Wow, it's going to be a short year. I can't wait.
it. It's short term.
All in favor, say
Aye.
aye.
Aye,
Any opposed? I'll abstain just for the sake of it.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg, yes.
All right, so next item is for assistant chair. I'll nominate Andy Coyne as assistant chair.
I'll second.
All in
I'll
favor
do
of
it.
Andy being the assistant chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so it is Andy Coyne is the assistant chair. Thank you, Andy.
Oh,
And Joel's cat being an officer of the board?
The cat, yeah, bring on the cat.
Your
missing-
your mic's off, Joel. What's your cat's name?
Gracie,
Grace. Cute.
has nothing to do with you, Andy.
everything to do with me.
Anyhow. That was a little cheeky tonight.
All right, so I believe that's all the actual officer agenda items. So next we move on to the appointments, town appointments. Some of these are kind of mandated by our charter. Some of them are kind of thrust upon us by different organizations, whether it be the state or
Andy, or Greg,
organizations.
do we need to vote on the record, paper of record, or is that after the appointments? You have to vote
It's
on.
among them. It's among
kind of all
them.
that into the appointments, so that can be down.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just curious, that's all.
Yeah, I think they're
It's in the list. Yeah.
in the
Okay.
list, yeah, and I'm just going off of the list as it is the list. I mean, they don't, it's not, there's nothing logical, I suppose, about it. It's just kind of the order that they've been in.
Okay.
First item was for fence viewer. This is a kind of antiquated position that's been around for a long time. Steve Clark had formerly held the position. He has indicated he's not, is not interested in that.
What does it do? Do you do anything?
It's basically, it's been around for a long, long time. I'd looked it up a little bit because if the select board can turn to the fence viewer to help mediate boundary disputes, basically. And I think it went way back to somebody throwing their barbed wire fence across somebody else's yard or something like that when their sheep got out.
I mean, if I'll do it,
It is I looked into it too. It is a position. If somebody puts up a fence, say on well, they can't on that side, but on this side, and I don't like it, or I think it infringes on my property, the select board, if I'm read this right, may get involved, and it may involve like a surveyor or we would
Okay.
have, that person would be the liaison to mediate or solve this dispute.
I'll do
I
it.
think it does come into modern time.
Okay, I'll do it.
There's not much to read about it, and I haven't heard of anyone having to do it, but
Right.
I might need your help then, Tom.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
it's a real thing.
let me know. Okay, I know you got construction going on. All right,
I
sure. I'll
got
do
a
it. Why not?
fence down.
Huh?
I said I got a fence falling down, but I'm not ready to make an issue of it yet.
Okay,
We'll put it right to the test.
right.
So we will appoint Tom as the fence viewer. That's what I'm hearing, a consensus. Again, I don't think we have to vote. Animal Control Officer Rob Willis has indicated he's still interested in that position. We'll make the appointment. I guess I'll take that. I'll appoint Rob Willis unless there's any other suggestions there.
Can I just ask what page the appointments are on the,
If you just, you know what, Andy, if you want to see them, the ones we did last year, the
Yes.
minutes are March 9, 2020, and that has the whole list of
I would like
what
to-
the current ones are.
is it in the town report?
I sent
Um,
it out last week to everyone in
I
an
didn't
email.
see it.
If
I was
you
looking for it.
don't have it handy, if you just go on the website, all of the,
No,
And
no,
Sarah
I just
recently
thought
said-
you were getting it out of the book and I couldn't find it.
No, it's not in the
No.
book.
Okay,
It's off of
no,
our
never
minutes
mind.
from last year. Yeah.
Nope. I didn't, sorry, Sarah, I didn't get that. I didn't see it.
You got it now, though?
That's okay.
I
I
got it.
trust you.
Thank you. I got it now. Thank you. I missed it too. Okay.
So the other position that's a little antiquated is the surveyor of wood lumber and weigher of coal. That position's been vacant, as far as I know, as long as I can remember. I believe we're okay there, having it vacant. Ben Williams is one of the few people I haven't been able to reach on this list to see if he's still interested in being the tree warden. But I would suggest we appoint Ben Warden, the tree warden, unless there's another nominee or appoint person.
agree. And then if he declines, we can,
Right.
Yeah.
Health officer has fallen back by default to the board, this board, and the chair of the select board being me. I'd love somebody else, but right now I do not know of anybody, so that can always be assigned, appointed at a future date. So if anybody knows of somebody who may be interested. Andy knows it kind of comes, it ebbs and flows with a lot of things. I mean, sometimes you're busy, other times it'll sit dormant for a long time.
Yes, and we would put forth someone who volunteered and they would be appointed by the state. Pretty sure.
Yeah. And right now, I mean, it does default to the chair of the board.
Chair and the board as the Jamaica Board of Health.
right.
So really all of us,
Mhm.
but Greg gets the calls.
Okay.
Well, I'm not trying to be funny. That's just the way it's laid out.
Right, no, right, exactly. Which is understandable. There needs to be somebody on the ground. So,
Sorry, could I just quickly, where can I find the agenda, please? I know I've seen it somewhere, but I'm just brand new at this.
yeah, so I apologize too. I think I may have sent it to your email address, your new email address. It is posted on the website now.
I was looking for it and
Go under, is it not there? See, I just posted it. So,
I've recycled about 4 times. I'm still not getting it. I'll try again.
it's WordPress. It's just WordPress. There's nothing I can do.
So I can send it to you again, Kate, or somebody else.
okay,
Okay.
wait a minute.
Yeah, Kate, if you want to give me your personal email, I can forward it to your personal email.
Yeah, because the last one that's listed on the website is the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to,
Actually, I have the Jamaica, Vermont email now, thanks to Tom. And
Yeah.
okay, if you want to go into that,
Yeah. I'm in there.
Greg sent it Thursday at 2:30 PM.
You went ahead it, but I don't remember when I set
Before
that one up.
Yeah, I don't have anything that early. Well, let me-
Oh, I can forward it again then right now.
Yeah.
okay, thanks. Thanks, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. That's good. That's it. Next items are the cemetery sextons. Those have been. There's a couple of things there.
Question?
Oh, sorry, Tom.
I had heard that Bruce Chapin was no longer wanting to be
Oh,
one of them. I talked to Karen and I get which one. If it was.
No, I have all that.
East
Oh, you do,
Jamaica.
okay.
I have it. So,
Okay.
Bruce would like to relinquish the East Jamaica Cemetery
Okay.
and has talked to Steve Gleason about it. Karen has also recommended him. He's a neighbor there. He has some family that are buried there, and he's very attentive to that location already. So that would be the one change. The Jamaica Village, which we kind of appointed a sexton to it, that is not one of our town cemetery. So that's, we don't really appoint those persons to that. So basically it would read that Steve Gleason would be the East Jamaica Cemetery. Bruce would continue on the South Wyndham Cemetery. Karen would continue for West Jamaica, South Hill, and Pikes Falls. And Nelson Coleman would continue for Rawsonville.
Okay.
Is that good there? Paul has joined us tonight, and thank you. Paul has offered to continue his role as the Emergency Management Director. Been doing that for a long time, and it's great to have someone continue that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rescue Inc., a lot of these are going to be a continuation. Rescue Inc. representative would be Stuart Barker. And I don't know, I mean, it's a formality, but I mean, should I just go read what we've got and other people can chime in? I don't know how the appointments actually worked in the past if we're not actually voting on them, but
I don't remember.
talk to these people.
It was kind of like this last year. We just.
Okay.
We just
Better-
agree. We just all say, I'll do it. Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't remember. Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
Stuart Barker as the Rescue Inc. representative. Tom Tolbert for the Energy Coordinator. We do have a vacancy now for our flood zone administrator. Lou has officially resigned that position. And I do not know of anybody to fill that position. I also believe that that falls back to the board also, I believe, like the health officer does, because it's something that really can't be unfilled.
It's what is the role there? They get flood permits?
Yes.
Process.
Yeah, that's a real role. Lou did put in a fair bit of time. He did periodic drive arounds through the flood zone area to see if there had been any noticeable or material changes to property in the flood zone. If anybody were interested in a permit or a variance, or to just understand whether what they were considering was in or was not in the flood zone, he would review that with you and give you a formal opinion. He would consult with the state, the folks at the state level when there was a mapping issue. So I was wondering, Greg, do you think any of the listers are interested in that role? It's all the same.
That's
Kind
possible,
of a-
yeah.
Yeah.
Lou's role as the lister definitely dovetailed well with that. And that is one of the few areas of real zoning that we have. I mean, things do need to be approved if they're going to be constructed within any of the flood zones. There is a fairly, it's not comprehensive, but I mean, there's a training program set up through the state. So it's not something you just kind of say, sure, I'll do it. And I mean, it does take some learning and some formality behind it, but it could be something that somebody in the listers would be willing to take on.
Greg, do you know one of those listers
I
maybe?
can consult with them. I know they do have an organizational meeting scheduled for next Saturday. So that could be something maybe we could throw on the agenda.
Perfect.
Okay.
So that will remain open for now. The Wyndham Regional Commissioners, I would suggest that Andy and Joel continue in that role. They've been super with that if they will both
Yes.
have that.
Yep.
Thank you both.
Yep. You're welcome.
Yep. And I'll make a footnote and jump ahead a little bit. I know down below we've actually assigned the Wyndham Regional Transportation Committee. I believe the committees are formed we don't assign the committees, right? So
Right.
if I'm correct, yeah, okay. So that can kind of be scratched. So we won't fill any of the committees. Andy and Joel can fill those committees as needed as part of as the commissioners to the Wyndham Regional Commission. Thank you both. Yeah, that's super important and always will be, and is going to continue to be more so, I think, with some of the stuff going on. Next item for the Planning Commission, these should actually be two separate things. Planning Commission appointees and the Zoning Board of Adjustment, they are literally the same people, but they are two separate appointments. I've not heard from Scott, but I know each of the other members have expressed their desire to continue. So I will suggest as the Planning Commission, Brian Zeroff, Patrick McQuillan, Christopher Robbins, John Sohikian, and Scott Gordon will continue as our Planning Commission. They've been super and very active. Thank you. If they will, they have actually all expressed their desire to continue. And I will actually suggest that we appoint the same 5 people to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So separate, same group of people, but definitely different roles.
Great.
Next item here is the Recreation Committee. Bob Johnson has been on that for a number of years. It's had some transition over the past couple of years. I would like to remove my name from that. I don't believe I've committed enough energy to it, given everything.
Can I talk about that? I know, I mean, I talked to Bob one day. He's pretty much done with it too. As I've said before, like the baseball and stuff is pretty much, because so many kids left Jamaica and went to Townsend, and now there's school choice within the district. The baseball team sort of disintegrated because we don't really have enough kids anymore to do baseball. I know that the soccer and the basketball are all handled now down at Leland and Gray, and the kids just go on the day. I know for soccer, and they do basically like pickup, and they create teams. So I know Caroline. I got all the box of stuff from Caroline Pearson and brought it to the town hall. At some point, Terry needs to go down to the credit union with Caroline and get her name on the accounts. At some point, and there is money in those accounts. There's like a couple of grand. I don't know. I'm just saying. And we allocate. Well, I think we cut it this year to 1,500. But I would just hope that somebody would want to do it who has kids.
Right.
If someone has to do signups, you got to do signups for soccer and basketball and all that stuff. And it's sad that no one wants to step up. That's all.
Yeah. And I somewhat got involved because I know historically it's always been team sports oriented because there has been enough people in town. But it doesn't necessarily, I don't believe, doesn't necessarily have to be team sports. I mean, there's a lot of individuals in town that may not participate in team sports, and maybe just the numbers kind of point toward other things.
Well, I ran it for 6 years, and we thought about all that stuff, but it's volunteer, and no one wanted to volunteer, so we barely could get uniforms to drop to Chester for uniforms, all kinds of stuff, because there's a little bit of work there too to if you manage it. Again, I don't know who's coaching. I don't know anything because I'm not part of that. My kids are older,
So I don't know. Is Bob I know has expressed to you and I, but I don't know if he was interested in continuing.
I think he just does it because his grandkids are there and there's nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I know Ed has done some stuff too with signups. Ed Doradu.
Mm-hmm.
With his kid, because he's asked me like what the combination is down the field. D&K's is still mowing the ball fields. So that was something that we set up with them. And I noticed it was mowed the other day. And I noticed someone with the bases out too. But
There were some people playing the other night, and I
Right.
couldn't really tell. I was driving by, so I couldn't tell whether they were kids or adults or what, but would that
Is it
be?
like a practice?
Sorry?
They were adults,
Uh-huh.
older people.
Is
Yeah,
that under the purview of the rec committee, just anybody who wants to use the field?
We should have someone on it, right? Because like Wardsboro used to, the baseball team over in Wardsboro used to call me up and say, hey, can we practice Sunday night on the field? And I'm like, sure, no one else is there. And they would go, or Sunday afternoon, they would go and practice. But they asked me every year, he'd call me up. It was Hiscock, who passed away, but he used to call me and say, hey, can we use your field? Just asking before we do it. And it's like, sure. So it,
I would theoretically volunteer to do it, but I feel like I don't really know what it is, what the person does.
we can talk about it. Like I said, I ran it for 6 years, 6 or 7 years. I ran it for a long time.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, we'll
Thank
talk.
you, Kate.
Thank
My
you.
son did soccer and baseball with Jamaica Village School and then, you know, soccer for a while at Leland Gray. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, it used to be every town had teams. You know, now it's if my kid lives in Jamaica but goes to school in Townsend, he's going to want to be, or he or she's going to want to be on the team with all their buddies in Townsend.
Right.
So how do you divide it up by town anymore? It was always sort of aligned with the schools and the towns, and now that it's all getting consolidated, I don't know.
Well, maybe
Not
part of
even
this
serious.
role is to figure out how to use the resources we have, you know?
Just to rethink it and
Yeah,
also
rethink it.
kind of network with,
Right.
with other parents that are out there and see how they would want us to handle it or how they want to be involved, I guess.
They probably, oh, go ahead.
Well,
And
thank you.
recruiting other people to help, because that's really what it's about.
Are we leaving Bob on there too? On the committee?
I would for now.
I
He's
would for now.
knowledgeable, and if he decides to drop
Need
out,
somebody to.
it's somewhat informal. We can talk, Kate. We can talk. Again, things have changed a lot. The
Yeah,
other person would be Caroline Pearson, because she
Mhm.
ran it for the couple years after I left.
okay.
And so and again, her kids are older now, and she's like, I'm not gonna,
I get it. I taught her kids. I mean, I know Caroline,
yeah,
so.
yeah. So, I mean, you can call her up and you can pick her brain too, because she knows more about like the soccer and that changed over. I left before all that happened.
Uh-huh.
She was instrumental in making it happen. So,
Okay, well, cool. Thank you, Kate.
thanks, Kate.
Next item on here is the Village Beautification Committee. And I would suggest that we keep the same people on there: Karen Amadon, Joe Dumas, and Lexa Clark. I think that one of their primary functions is the flowers and things on the bridge, but there's a lot of other stuff they do around town.
Do they want somebody from the select board to be on it, or?
I think that's a committee there's no standard, so to speak. It doesn't say 3 members or anything. I think the more the merrier. I'm sure they would
Right.
love.
Okay,
They
because
would-
you know, I like beauty. And I like, you know, I'm a gardener to some extent. And so I saw Heather out there, you know, a couple weeks ago, and I thought, I wonder who does that. And so,
Right,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
no, I think they would welcome the help and
okay, good.
I think so too. Yeah. Perfect. So we'll add Kate to the list. The next two, the fire warden, the assistant fire warden, those have already been appointed. Those are 5-year appointments that were done at our last meeting. Those more directed by the state on those. Erica Bowman wishes to remain as the 911 coordinator. Alice Abrams has, I don't know where I got it, maybe it was from Sarah. I don't quite know whether Janine, who had been doing it, wasn't interested in it anymore, but Alice said that she was interested. Anybody know more than that? Sarah, did Alice reach out to you?
I spoke to Alice. She came in the office one day and she just kind of threw it out there. She's like, well, if you want, I can be the rep, because I believe she said she works there or something.
Oh,
So she was so I just wrote it down because she said it, and then I wrote it in the email just to let you know. So that's
Right.
all I know. I don't know about the other lady.
I don't know enough either to say that she is or isn't. Maybe we can say that Janine would continue and have an assistant. I mean, I don't quite know what, I think it's just a communication line between the organization and us.
but does anybody know Janine Stone?
I do, Jay Stone, yeah.
Oh,
Bob Stone's wife.
oh, Oh, it's Bob Stone's wife.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if she's,
So we just don't know if she wants to continue.
right.
Okay.
I apologize for not, that one got lost in my shuffle of trying to talk to everybody. Let me, since I kind of screwed up, I will reach out to Janine, Jay, and talk to Alice too, and we'll just, if that's okay with the board.
Yeah.
Or,
Sure.
I mean, we can take.
Wherever it lands.
Okay. The next items are transfer station liaison and also our rep to the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District. I've been in that role. I would like to continue. Jessica has been the assistant for both of those positions. I believe that she would like to continue if the board will so have us.
Yeah, man.
Excellent, thank you. This is where the newspaper of record pops up. Brattleboro Reformer has been our newspaper of record for a number of years, as long as I can remember, way back, and I see no reason to change that. Basically, that's where all of our warnings, things like that, notices and things get recorded there. Any other thoughts on that? I know there's been some discussion in the past whether we change it to the something else, but I don't really think there is.
Jamaica Journal.
But I think that one is pretty good. We have town hall liaison
Yes,
with
please.
Tom Tolber.
Yes, please.
Tom has expressed willingness to do that. The town office liaison, Paul formerly had that. Jessica, I think we talked about that, right? I'm trying to remember everything we talked about.
I'd be happy to be a thorn in Sarah's side.
Okay. Okay.
She knows better.
And then the liaison with the sheriff's department, Andy has said that he is interested in continuing that role.
Sure.
And then one that didn't make it on the list before, and I'm not sure if it was at a future meeting or why it wasn't on here, but one is the next one is the road commissioner. And I know I've kind of talked to a few members of the board. I know that roads is a huge part of our budget. I mean, everybody knows that. It's probably 2/3 of our budget. And some of the thinking was to have that come back onto the board. I know there's some redundancy with me just being the chair, and maybe it's because I was new this year too. I'd pull something off of a meeting and I'd go to Keith and then bounce it back to Lexa and then Lexa's to Keith. And so it's like, so I'm not saying I want to be it, but I think it should be on the board. I think just holds a lot more accountability financially, that we're overseeing that. I know Jessica and I talked a fair amount of time about it. So I don't know what other thoughts are on it, what people are thinking. I talked to Andy a little bit. Was a former road commissioner. I see your hand, Andy.
I do have some thoughts on it. Just a brief description of what it is. Believe me, it's a lot deeper than this. The road commissioner plays an important but limited role in many Vermont towns as the individual charged by the select board to maintain the town's highways. The road commissioner has no independent authority to act and can only carry out the orders of the select board. So it is really all on us. I don't think it necessarily has to be a board member. I don't see why we're not all overseeing that anyway. On past boards, we've had Keith come in and the road commissioner at our request and, ask them questions. I remember when Brian Chapin was road commissioner, I was telling Greg earlier, he'd give us like a 45 until we told him, no, that's good. He'd tell us all about every single part they bought. I mean, I'm not being disrespectful, but I think that the road commissioner we have has been doing a good job. I just want to say that I think if we want to get more involved, I think it would be the whole board. I don't know how it's just one person would, as the road commissioner, be more, what do you call it? I can't think of the word. More, have more authority than we do. Just, I mean, I'll go along with whatever we do, but, Lex has been on the, I think this all plays into her part as road commissioner. She's been on the fire department for 43 years. Not like she doesn't know every single road, every pothole and whatever. And I think that she has a good rapport with the road crew. Do we want to find out if the road crew could do more? I think we could do that with a road commissioner outside of the board. And I was on the board when I was road commissioner, and what happened with me was, how to be a little diplomatic about this. I would get complaints from people who I worked for, and in turn, the properties I was working on, they were taking care of them, and I had to step aside because of that, because I didn't want to appear to be getting some things done in certain parts of town where I was employed. And but Lex also served on the board for 12 years. I mean, she worked out that thing on, I got some notes somewhere from one of the, when what was that thing going on up on,
with the town
under
trail.
the Hill Road.
Mhm.
The residents needed assistance to enter the property they purchased. I know that she put a lot of time and effort into that, and
Yeah, it's
some
under the
people-
mountain road.
Yes.
That extends from Londonderry over into Jamaica.
That all got worked out with her help and with whoever else was involved. I don't know, maybe Jessica
I
might have
think-
been involved in that, but
Yeah. So I think
and
just,
I know that like if she gets a call, we don't hear about all what the road commissioners do. That she gets a hold of Keith or whatever, and it gets resolved, and that's probably why we don't hear about it. Maybe you guys are hearing some things. I know the roads could use some help here and there, but I would be for reappointing her, as she's also been our road commissioner for the past year and a half. But I'm certainly willing to listen to some other thoughts on that.
well, I think it's important to say, to the extent that we make the change, it's not a comment on how any one particular road commissioner, including Lexa, who very graciously volunteered to take that position when we didn't have anyone at the last, after the last town meeting. It's not a comment on in terms of how well she did or didn't do. Quite the opposite. I think everybody on this board and past members of the board would say that she's done yeoman's work. But something that you just said, Andy, at least in my mind, is exactly what's a concern to me. With it being a position that is not a board member, it's not so, certainly in COVID, but even before COVID, to have someone who is in charge of by far the single largest portion of our budget, and arguably the biggest operational unit in our town. Actually, I don't think there's an argument contrary to that. Being someone who is at every select board meeting, and exactly what you were just saying, the person who's getting calls, who's having to resolve issues, and who is intimate enough with that budget to understand, do they have enough? Is the budget big enough? This is not about necessarily shrinking a budget. It could be about growing the budget. And in this coming year, when the Planning Commission is likely to articulate some projects where we will seek grant money, in my mind, that just accentuated the need to have a person close to the board, if not a board member, ideally, to be connected to that. That's, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here. I haven't discussed this particular viewpoint with anyone else, except to just say generally, as in our role as fiduciaries for the town and stewards for the town, not to have a member of the board, be that liaison, just strikes me as it doesn't fit well to me.
No, and I didn't want to come across as like saying that, that's how I took it, that
Yeah.
that
Okay.
anyone said she was doing a poor job.
Good.
I hopefully didn't come across that way, but I don't, I think it's on all of us. And we, like I said, we could have Keith come in. Any of us can go over to the town garage and pop in on those guys. We can ask to ride around with them. We could have Terry separate every single repair bill, ask him how come that broke. I mean, if we really want to get involved with the operations of the road crew, which my experience has been, and there are people who will tell me different. I think they do a pretty good job. We have the Clean Water Act that's, trickling down from Lake Champlain that Joel and I are privy, or I should be relaying, the percentage of what Jamaica has done compared to the rest of the state. I mean, that isn't really on the road commissioner, but that's something that our town guys are dealing with, trying to keep up with that. And I don't know, I'm okay with a commissioner being from the outside and it being the one we have. That's really all I've got to say.
I agree
I'm
with
not
you.
here to get her appointed.
I look at it too as someone outside the board. I hear what you're saying, Jessica, but ultimately, we are all responsible for that. We pay the bills. We're the ones who approve the bills. So having a
And
Right.
board, I mean,
Right. So to me, you're making my point, which is that I know that I asked for Keith to come in a couple of times this year. He did not. I don't know why not. I do know that since it's not something that otherwise is my personal area of responsibility, to try to do what Andy's suggesting, which is each one of us takes a turn, maybe go riding with them or investigating. To me, it's going to be one person who's going to take the lion's share of the responsibility. Maybe if we continue as we have, that person comes to every select board meeting and is a standing appointment. And if Lex is happy to do that and, kind of talk to us about what happened that week, give us her view as to whether resources are being allocated correctly, whether the appropriate training is being delivered, kind of collecting from people in the town viewpoints, doing the kinds of things I would think that someone who's the commissioner of, a surrogate of the board for the single largest budget item and operation item for the town would do. I personally am not seeing that work getting done now. Not that anybody's been asked and not that it's a failure, but it strikes me that it should. Now, and
so what I don't think I was, I mean, I understand what you're saying and I understand your point of view. I support continuing with Lexa, but I like what you said there. Let's change the way that the interaction happens. Let's say you got to be at least one, you got to come to at least one of the board meetings a month and report back to us.
Remember,
and
that's
if you're not willing to do that. And if she doesn't want to do that, she says, I don't want to do that. I got off the select board. Then we say, okay, well, that's what the position's going to be now. So if you don't want to do it, then you can leave. And if you do want to do it, then you can come to whatever we decide, how many select board meetings a month. And so it kind of gives her the out if she doesn't want to do that. And if she does want to do it, then we expect more from her than she's currently delivering.
Right. And again,
Somebody
it's
has
not
their
about the
hand
job
up.
she's done. It's
See
about
Brian.
the job that, oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I see Brian. I haven't just called on you yet. I'm letting the
Must be
board.
getting tired.
I kept trying to chat with you, but I couldn't get through. So I apologize, Brian, but I'm going to continue the board discussion and then I'll go out to you, Brian. But I do want
That's my take on it. I think, again, she's done a great job. And if we want more, we go to her and say, we want more. And if she says no, then we say, okay, well, then you need to resign for the position and we'll find somebody else who is willing to do these things.
Yeah.
That's how I would approach it.
And I think I kind of got mixed emotions too, because I'm really hearing, I mean, this is a big piece. And again, going back to Lexa, it's nothing like we've all said, it's nothing being done wrong. It's just, can we do things better? And you look at, the amount of money that we're spending and effort, and are we, spinning our wheels, so to speak, in some ways, and can we be doing things better? And I'm an analytical kind of numbers person, and I just don't see that we're maybe not seeing the feedback, maybe not crunching the numbers. I don't know if that's really the role of the commissioner, but that interface between the department, like Tom's suggestion, maybe we just say we want that to be a little bit stronger, I guess.
Yeah, or just more information given to us. What incidents happen, what kind of money are we spending? But we know that by going through the invoices. But yeah, just better reporting. It's similar to what happened with Terry when we said, hey, we want financial reports quarterly so that we know what's going on with the town money, rather than.
And it was great.
Yeah. Brian.
I mean, it's setting the expectation of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And then giving her the opportunity to say, yes, I want to do that, or no, I don't.
Yeah. And that rests on me a lot too. I mean, I feel like I haven't really reached out or pushed it either. Sorry, Brian, as our chair of the planning commission.
Well, at this point, I'm going to speak as a member of the public. I think you should go back and look at the town charter or our regulations. So don't quote me on this because I breezed through it, but I believe that the select board is the one in charge of the road. The select board, because they have all the liability and the responsibility to run the road program, can elect a road commissioner to act on their behalf, but it's still their behalf. And therefore, we need to find out more information. You're the boss. And so that's what you should do. This select board here, you guys are the road commissioner. Anyone else who's been appointed that position is just operating on your behalf. And so
That's what I read there. That was just a brief summary. And
So
then it parlayed into towns that have a paid road commissioner in their, a paid position, part-time or full-time, small towns.
So could you then, so we can't appoint a board member to be the road commissioner because the board in itself is the road commissioner. Is that what I'm understanding? That seems a little.
No,
you'd have to read into it.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that sounds right.
I don't think so. There are other similar positions where the board can delegate to a board member.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think there's not anything that inhibits appointing a board member, but Tom, I mean, I think to Tom's point, let's, align on what we're looking for from the road commissioner, and to whether that was Andy or Brian, I can't remember, the mention of other towns that have a paid commissioner. I mean, that could be something we ask for. Is this, is the recommendation that there be a paid role? I'm not saying that's what we should do, but it could be that something.
Yeah, I think the other big piece of this, and Brian alluded to it a little bit, is that there's a lot of opportunity coming down with a lot of these, stimulus monies and things like that. And a lot of those are going to be directed toward infrastructure. There's roads and there's sewers, there's water, but roads is a huge part of that too. And we need to be staying right on top of that. And it's something that Keith has admitted, and it's not his role, and he can't sit at a desk and be digging up grant opportunities. He's out driving a truck. So that's where we need help. And that's going to be something that that we challenge the road commissioner with.
Okay. So in my opinion, I think we should leave it with Lexa, and then again, have the conversation with her. And if she doesn't want it, then she can walk away. And if she does want it, then we're giving her that opportunity to give us what we want.
Yep.
And I think that if Keith,
Paul, you had a comment as an ex officio?
As a former road commissioner, among other former things, there's a piece of this that I don't hear on the discussion. One of the advantages of having a one-person road commissioner is it gives one point of contact for the road people moving upstream to the select board. So not only does it come from the select board down, but that means he's only having to listen to one voice at a time instead of multiple people. It actually acts as a funnel to get the select board's input to one person, to Keith, and for Keith's people to Keith upstream. So I think that, I think that's a piece of it too, that's important, to have a selected road commissioner, whether it's select board member or not, but one person, so that they have one person to look towards, just as the select board has one person to look.
Was someone suggesting that we not have a road commissioner at all?
I don't think that's.
No, but maybe as we just pointed out, that the board was the road commissioner, but there really needs to be a point person if we decide.
Right, right. So Paul, I don't think anybody we were thinking there wouldn't be one throat to choke in this concept. It's just a question of who and what their roles and, what the role and responsibilities.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think this is a healthy just conversation.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll make we'll reappoint Lexa and work closely with her and Keith to, me as the chair, and I guess the chair. I mean, Keith certainly, as far as one person, he doesn't want to be hearing from all of us. It's just not practical, nor really, worth his time or anything to be answering the phone all the time. So, okay, so we will work that route and have Lexa continue on, and then.
So we should then come up with what we want
Yeah,
and express that to her. Maybe we can. This meeting we're not even in the real meeting yet.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Not a meeting topic. That's an offline thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm happy to come up with some bullet points that I know I'm interested in, and then anybody else can add.
Okay, super.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I think the rest of the meeting will go much quicker. I believe that was all of our appointments. I will now call to order the regular meeting of the Jamaica Select Board for Monday, May 10th. It is currently 7:47, not the plane, but the time.
I have one addition of just, I got a couple of IT updates regarding the wireless hotspot.
Okay, I did have also wanted to add, Laura Stone just sent me a note earlier today that they would like to try to schedule the presentation for their assessment study. I don't know if I got the terminology right. It's not right in front of me, but for the update on the State Park Bridge number 32. So I'd like to add that to the agenda, just to set a time for our meeting with them, similar to what we did back in December. And then I also have an executive session item to add. Well, we have that on our agenda, but just to note that there will be one. And actually, I'm sorry. And then also I did send out a review of the PTO days. It came up whether we review that. Last year, we kind of, we pushed them out. We allowed people to use them beyond the end of the fiscal year due to COVID. That thought has come up again. So I just wanted to run that by everybody, get some thoughts and decision.
Okay.
Sorry for the lots of items there. Did you get all that, Sarah? Well, when we get to them, we'll. Okay, so the next item number 2, approve the minutes from the April 26th Select Board meeting. From our last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any comments on those? Any things of note? Kate?
Something very minor, Robin Gibson actually spells her name Robin with 2 B's.
Okay. Good
Thank
point.
you.
Okay, anything else? Motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So do we get 4? I guess we got the minutes pass. So Brian, thank you for patiently waiting. Brian has joined us just to give an update on the financing options and status of our community septic proposal, or not proposal, I guess proposal, yeah.
Muted.
You're muted, Brian. Did it?
Thank you. As you guys all know, we sent in an application for a planning grant to the state. And that application was to do the feasibility study and the design of a community septic system. The first update is that I checked in with the state, and we are town number 1. So we are the first application to be considered for the new fiscal year starting July 1st. And our entire $43,000 was allocated for approval. So that's the first part of good news. The second part is that there are 2 funding options that I'm aware of in the state. One is this planning grant, and the other is a loan program through the Clean Water Revolving Fund. The loan program has some forgiveness to it, but the planning advance seemed to be a good approach, because we could go all the way through final design and you don't pay anything back unless you go to construction. But in the recent past few weeks, I was informed by the Clean Water State Revolving Fund that there's $550,000 being allocated by the state for small town community septic systems. And those who apply for that money, there's a variance coming in where it's 100% forgiveness. So the state will pay the entire bill for us to go to final design. And so I'm going through the process. The Jamaica Planning Commission is going through the process of applying for that. And this person who informed me of this works directly with the person who runs the planning advance that we've already applied and been allocated for. So it's pretty much identified as whatever our best option is, we're going to be able to go with that. And then, so that was great. And I'm setting that up with the application and the RFQ. And in the past week, Lynette, who is in charge of our planning grant, informed us that with all the stimulus money that's coming in, previously with our application, our responsibility was that we didn't have to pay it back if we did not go to construction. But if you do go to construction, you did have to pay that back. And it would be stretched out through loans down the line. But with the stimulus money, it looks like our planning advance might also be 100% forgived, where we wouldn't have to pay it back. And so there's a bunch of money coming in. There are multiple options now in play where we may be able to go through this process that we described through our previous submissions without any liability financially on the town. So I'll keep you informed, and that's where it stands. And I'll answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I have a question, Brian, more of a
Sure.
a rollout kind of thing. I know we've been talking about it on the board and the planning commission, and a lot of this is, I mean, it's obviously planning. I mean, we're not ready to roll with anything yet, but just some of our past learnings of, getting as much information out there ahead of the curve as possible. I don't know, you obviously don't want to be too far ahead because things aren't really ready yet, but does the planning commission have a time frame, a communication plan, that kind of thing, or is that something that comes about after the feasibility study, or are there parts of it that should be rolled out now, I guess?
I think the best way to go about this is number one, we don't have anything specifically in place right now because we don't know if our advance has been approved. Once it is approved, it's not like there is a quick stop deadline. We can, as part of our application, as you may recall, we had to put together a committee, name committee members. So that committee would then get together, and then we would lay out our timeline. It's not an extensive or labor intense process to do the first few stages of this investigation. So we could lay it out, identify the timeline, complete the steps within that timeline. And it's probably all going to start really coming together in the August timeframe.
Okay.
Joel,
Is there any idea of the extent of this system at this point?
yes, this is it's an application that would obtain funding to look at the feasibility of a less than 6,500 gallons a day system. So it would be the smallest level of community septic system. With that system, we would just need to be able to engineer the specific system and have room for a backup system. Above 6,500, you have to construct both systems, primary and backup, and have them ready to go. So we're looking at the base level under 6,500 gallons per day system.
The location?
There has been a property, a 2-acre open field, flat property downhill from the town, less than a quarter mile away. It's the open field as part of the Karen Amidon property. It's been identified and included in the application.
I meant the extent of in the village of the system.
Oh, that would be determined once you have 6,500 gallons available. You would have to have some sort of review process. Who would benefit with setbacks from drinking water wells? Who would benefit from their current business plan? Who has the most amount of restrictions? Who can't permit a well? Who can't have seating? All of these things would be taken into account. I'm sure it would be a full review and some sort of like selection process where it's just not just like, hey, you here or you there. It's going to be I imagine a very fair layout if we get to that point.
Last question, which is 2, is this going to involve digging up the road?
Installing sewer lines would involve digging up the road or septic line.
Would this be a time to look at the possibility of incorporating a water system with this?
We're focusing on what we have the capability of doing right now, which is a community septic system. That's a good point. In thinking about it, if you have a water system in place, as far as like a feasibility and an investigation and a build out plan, you could conceivably do them together. But I can't see how we can do them both together now. It would just have to be a septic initiative.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there any chance? I mean, this is really projecting. But what if this thing only, I mean, worked out with all the permits and the wells and the seeding? What if it only accommodated 3 properties? Is there any number like for sure? Is it going to accommodate 6, or 8, or 10, or 3?
I actually asked that question, Andy, so thank you. I think a residence, on average, a residence discharges more water than a commercial property. Something like 400 gallons a day. And so looking at 6,500 gallons, it's definitely going to be at a level of 6,500 gallons, something that can significantly impact the town in a positive way, commercially, and for some residential properties that are in town, maybe they get considered or included. That would be the best part about doing a complete review is we can benefit more than just potential commercial or commercial properties. It would be all the properties as a whole. Who would benefit the most?
So that's pretty significant. I mean, that even if it's all residential, I mean, that's 10 plus easily. Yeah, I mean, you look at it just that way. I mean, you can roll out 10 plus residents and 2 or 3 businesses within that capacity. I mean, just rough numbers, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on 1 second.
Burning dinner.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, sorry.
Joel.
Is there the potential of expanding it in the future?
This would be something where we're going after one specific design. Like if we install a certain system, in theory, you could expand it in the future. But that would be a big process because you would probably have to take that system, the existing system, offline. Because the next step up, as I mentioned before, requires a primary system and a backup system installed. Whereas the one we're going for just requires a primary system installed and room for a backup system.
Yeah, Kate.
Hey,
Sorry, just a quick question. Was the impetus for this septic system to be able to support restaurants or something else?
yes, in part, the impetus was that when you look at the layout of properties in the village, and then you look at their drinking water wells and their septic systems, and then you compare them to the prevailing regulations, the updated regulations, there are not many properties that meet the setback requirements. And because of that, there are several properties where if you have a business plan and you want to move forth with that plan, there are limitations that people are being faced with. Restaurants or properties with a business plan where you want to have a coffee shop or a restaurant, and you need a permitted groundwater supply well, you can't permit that well. The state won't even like accept the beginning of the process with that. And then with the septic system setback requirements, it puts a severe restriction on seating. A previous establishment in town, the North Country General, had no seating, which turned into the Workhorse Cafe, which had no seating. And some planned businesses have not gone forth with either their plan or the speed that they wanted because they found out they had restrictions due to the amount of seats they could have, if they could have seats at all. That they had to scale back on, someone who wanted a bed and breakfast and a restaurant could have one or the other and not both. And so there are definite restrictions that affect everyone in town, including some existing establishments like D&Ks who couldn't get a public water supply permit. So you couldn't sit down and have a salad, you could just take one out. And so the goal of this was to provide an opportunity for people with properties in town to realize a potential to have a coffee shop or a restaurant or a room to rent and just give that opportunity instead of not having that opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I'd like to throw out there a lot, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the business opportunities that this could generate, but there's also the health issues. If somebody's home in town, if their septic or their well fails, there's really no place to go. I mean, they can't just say, oh, just go drill another well because it'd be on top of someone's septic. And so that setback ordinance comes into play there too. And the state is, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, the state's a little more flexible when it comes to residential. They can make exceptions. I mean, they won't make any exceptions with business, but it's so tight in there. If you look at a map of where the septics are and where the wells are, I mean, it just looks like a starburst of colors. I mean, they're all on top of each other. So there's really no room for even a current homeowner if one of their systems failed. So, Joel.
Yeah, that's true. Like by taking a bunch of septic systems that are in the village offline and connecting them to a community system, you remove several setbacks. And then you provide more opportunity for things in town to actually be there, exist, and operate.
Joel, did you have something? Yep.
Yeah, I just want to remember the fact that there was some work already done and maybe entirely separate from this project about a town water system. And the likelihood that that would provide the whole town with relief from, since wells can't be drilled at any point, that the community water supply could be reconsidered to solve that problem, notwithstanding the project to have this mini septic system.
Yeah, and looking at what the Jamaica Planning Commission is charged to do, which is, push forth with the policies indicated in the town plan, ways to address groundwater and water supply issues, and also ways to address wastewater issues were two of the main things identified in the town plan. And so we're always looking to move forth with that. Right now we have a concrete, clear-cut way that we can identify costs, identify a plan, and get a lot of funding for with this wastewater plan. And so I kind of feel like sometimes the enemy of good is better. And so I think we got something good, or we're going to really push on that. And then in the future, if something can expand beyond that, then that's what we'll do. So that's where we stand now, unless someone tells the Jamaica Planning Commission different. We're going to keep rolling with that. But thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Really
All
terrific
members.
work.
Right. I still smell. It's not burning as bad.
Careful.
Okay,
Go
thank you,
eat.
Brian.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Brian.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
All righty, item number 4, just an update. We talked about this before, the Pikes Falls Music Festival, and Tom has had some.
Yeah. So Suzanne Lowy reached out to me last week, just kind of wondering what we were doing. I went back to the minutes and didn't see any decision that we made. So I don't exactly remember what we said. What she had said to me is they were, again, wanting to find options for summer. And perhaps having 2 outdoor shows and 2 indoor shows. I do remember our conversation saying that the board was being that COVID is uncertain and what's going to happen. We don't really know in August. If we hope things are better, but we don't know for certain, that we would prefer not to have her have indoor concerts. And then her says, well, could we potentially have the players in the town hall and then pipe the music outside? To which I mentioned to Greg, and he's like, yeah, but we don't own any of the land around there. So we'd have to get permission from the neighbors to set up like a tent and have some people out there. I've never been to one of her shows, so I don't know how crowded they actually are. And how, is there 20 people or 50 people? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
and
she's
I
gonna,
don't know either.
yeah, she's looking for an answer. She introduced me to Andrew Sabal, who's their production manager. So we need to make a decision on and get back to her. The other thing is that she was piggybacking on Jamaica Community Arts and insurance and all that, and we don't have insurance anymore because we canceled all that because we haven't done any shows. So I have to tell her that too. So that's going to be a cost that they have to absorb now. But we should make a decision. We need to make a decision if we want to let them do any shows in the town hall. And then if we do, then, I mean, I can talk to her about what kind of restrictions we would have. Or if we would just say, we really don't want you to, you can. And the other piece of that is, do we want to allow the band to even, and the orchestra to be in there doing their practicing and doing what they do every other summer? And again, it's our building, but they, this is something that they do, and then they have their residents there. So
I guess my thought is, I mean, we certainly don't know, we can't foresee the future.
Right.
But if we can kind of feel that we're going in the right direction, and to maybe just put some guidelines around what they do and say, if, you still have to follow the existing governor's guidelines. I mean, there's still something that they have to follow, and say, go ahead and plan for it, with the realization is that you know, if all hell breaks loose, then we're gonna say, then we're gonna cancel it. But I think just to hold off and you just kind of wait and put them on hold so they can't go forward with the plan because we're just uncertain. I think uncertainty is, you know, we got to play that into, you got to be aware of it, but I think we're becoming more certain, I guess is what I'm saying, and maybe not willing to say we're going to take some risk or anything, but just to tell them that there's some contingencies and go ahead and start planning, and I think they'll understand. I mean, I think anybody would understand if all of a sudden there's a fifth wave of something that comes around, or the next pandemic we don't even know about, then obviously we got to change.
Okay, so my question to you then is, are we going to allow them to do that then? So we're gonna say, yes, you can have your indoor concerts, but it may all change because they have to
Yeah,
plan.
that's me. That's just my suggestion. I mean, that's not the
Okay.
board's decision. That's
no,
just
I
my
understand.
thinking.
I agree. And I think it's a good thing for the town. And I know that as musicians, they have to plan ahead. They've got to, you know, all the people who are involved who are playing have to know whether they're coming to Jamaica or not, you know,
Yeah.
in advance. And I think we should, yeah, what you
Hey,
said.
have you been to their shows? Do you know how many people usually attend?
I haven't for quite some time because I usually am away at that
Okay.
time. So, and I think that they've built up a fairly decent following, but I haven't been here.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd hate to have to pull the plug on it, so to speak,
Yeah.
but if something came up, but I guess my gut right now is that things are moving in the right direction. So,
Right. So not last year, obviously, but the year before, I went to one in the town hall and to two at the park, and they were very well attended. So, I mean, I think, you know, it's obvious that we can say yes to the outdoor ones, right? That's hardly an issue. I would also vote that provided they're in compliance with current ordinances, town hall is on limits and that we should resuscitate our insurance policy.
Well, it's not our insurance policy. It's community arts insurance policy.
Well, right.
Not a
That's
town thing.
community arts,
And
right.
so in the past, they would have had their own. 2 years ago,
Right.
we partnered with them so that they could save some money. Now we're not.
Right.
I don't know.
But
if we're-
good to
we're-
resuscitate
we're-
that,
We're
right.
we're in limbo anyway with Jamaica Community Arts at this point. so
Right.
that's fine.
But is that what's kind of being considered, that perhaps we resuscitate that arrangement that was in place? Yeah.
Essentially,
or they can go out and get their own insurance if the.
they could, yeah. Well, I just need to let them. That's more of a. That's not a select board thing. That's my.
Okay.
So, okay, so I will go back to them and say, as long as they follow the guidelines set out by the state, that they are free to use the town hall and they should contact Sarah to set up the dates and go through the regular procedures. Is that what we're saying as a board? Andy, I don't want to cut you off if you have anything to say about this.
Andy, are you on mute?
I think it's unfolding, so, you know, the board member makes the point that they gotta know, you know, have some idea what they might be doing this summer, so.
Okay.
Kind of roll with the punches or whatever it is.
Okay, I will give her a call tomorrow and work it out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Next item, I guess, I mean, I can talk to, but Tom, you kind of spearheaded this item too. It was brought, I think Ed Duke just happened to flag down Tom and say, what's going on with the library? How come we always need to get volunteers to mow the library and do the plantings there, as opposed to rolling it into the town? Dennis, working for Keith, has taken over a lot of these little plots, I guess, in town between the sidewalks and whatnots and around the town hall as far as mowing.
Well,
And
yeah, so Heather was out doing the town square, Heather Bartels, and she basically, and then Ed, and there was some extra mulch and stuff, so he contacted me, says, hey, can I have some of that mulch? And I said, sure. And then he's like, how come, yeah, basically what you were saying, Greg, how come Heather does all this other stuff, but no one's doing the library, and I'm forced to do the library? So I said, I don't know who makes that decision. I guess the select board makes the decision if we want to pay somebody to beautify, or is the library its own entity? I'm assuming it's part of the town, right? So
And
That
where
was
does
that's
the,
my question. I don't know. And that's why I said, let me talk to the board and find out if anybody does know.
and where is the beautification? I don't know where the beautification committee falls into this. I have spoken to Keith about the capacity of Dennis to do a little bit more mowing, and he said that's absolutely fine. So the mowing's really not the
Okay.
issue, I guess. I mean, if we all agree to that, that Dennis can mow one little section, he's mowing along the sidewalks anyways.
So I talked to Heather and asked her, I said, so who do you get your guidance from? How do you know what to do? And she's like, I worked it out years ago, probably with the board, with the select board. And so I just do the same thing every year. And so if you guys want me to do more, just let me know. And I said, okay. So she says she got her direction from the board, like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I don't even know. So so I guess as the board, we would go to and say, yeah, we want to add this to, we want to add the library or whatever else. I know she does the bank building. And I know she does the square, and I don't know what else she does, but I know at least those two spots. So we could just say, do the library too, and then we just do that and plant flowers or do whatever. Or we say no and we keep it as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be beautiful. I mean, it would be beautiful to be beautified, but but I don't even know where the budget comes from. I guess that's, I mean.
That's
does
what I
she
don't know
submit a
either.
bill?
I don't know if the library or again, oh, go ahead, Sarah. I don't know.
Sarah, okay,
You're on mute.
yep,
No, she's not. Your microphone's broken.
you're good.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
now? Okay. I believe the beautification committee has a $500 budget, and that's where the money comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about all I know.
I know Heather submits her invoices to Terry, so Terry's paying them.
So the
that's what
question
she was
is
coming from.
is there any money in there even to do this? We could approve it, and if there's no money, there's no money. But I can't imagine doing that one little spot's gonna be more than a couple hours of work. It's not a ton of stuff and flowers. You know, purchasing plants, but.
I don't know. I bet it adds up. That, what she does on the common there, that looks really, really nice and looks like there's some labor and I mean, landscaping's a little expensive,
Well,
but I can just say that I was on the board when we decided to let the school, now this may be a different animal. We decided to let the school absorb its mowing and plowing. And I was not accosted, but it was a person let me know that money that little bit of money that they lost, that we took away from the school, could have went to half of one pupil with special needs or something like that. So I don't know if that's going to have any impact on the library, or if we impact them with a landscaping bill. Or I'm trying to find what the budget is for the library.
I don't
Money's
think
in
that-
there for their maintenance, or we already do that. I don't know. I need
That's
a
what-
little more time. A
Let
little
me-
more time to look at that, or ask Terry.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to make a decision tonight. I
Oh.
think we could discuss it and go, let's figure out how much Heather's billing when you count the flowers on the bridge and
Yeah.
the town hall or the town square and the bank building, the historical foundation. And is it gonna, and then go to her and say, is it gonna be $100 more a year?
Got it.
Okay, and if we can afford it, we can. And if we say we don't want to spend the money, then Ed's gonna, then volunteers do it. I mean, that's the whole piece. So it's,
Spread it out somehow, yeah.
he's just asking why. He's like, how come I have to do this? And fortunately, that mulch was surplus. So it was donated to the town. So by Amadon, by Drew. So, it was free, and he took it and put it on the beds there. So.
So do you want to take that, Tom, or do you?
I'll
want-
look
how
into
about-
it, and I'll call Terry up and figure out if we can figure out how much that is. And you're saying $500?
Or
I
I was
can
going
do
to
that.
suggest Kate as being our member on the beautification committee.
Yes.
Yes, maybe Kate can do it then.
And the upside of it is that Dennis will do the mowing. So there's really no mowing, and the mowing will get done, and it's just really the plantings.
So if you need any help, Kate, let me know. I can,
Okay, yeah, I had to go to the bathroom while, so I
Okay.
missed some of that, so, yeah.
okay, yeah, we can talk about it and then I can help you navigate
No problem.
whatever we need to
Good.
navigate. Sure.
Okay, super.
You,
Update on the Route 30 signs. Terry's having a little bit of difficulty getting some response back from the state to say what we need to do to be able to get the permit to put those up on Route 30. It's been definitely a strong work in progress, and I know we're getting closer and closer and closer. So that's about all I have to report. The initial there was some application that had to be done that referred to a speed study, and we're not quite sure of the definitions of any of these things.
okay. My
Uh,
question is, do we want to put that other sign? We have 2 extra signs, right? And we talked about buying another one down on Depot Street, farther down, coming out of the park. We talked about that. Because I was down there and people are speeding down there real bad. So the park's open, the park just opened, and things are gonna start picking up. And we had talked about putting a sign either right by the school and that straightaway there, maybe up a little further. So when people come out of the park, right before they get to Stomsky's, they get the sign and they slow down. And so as they're coming into the village, they slow down. And I've talked to,
I mean, we identified 3, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
different locations to put these things. We only got 4 signs, but even
Well,
if we
I
move
would-
them around, there's no sense having them sitting in storage.
I agree, and I would propose we buy another one. I mean, or if we need to.
Let's wait
They're
for
not
that.
that expensive. I mean, they're $1,500 or something. But
Let's wait till we get the state thing approved first, but anyways.
But I think we should put one up down on Depot Street. Definitely farther down, coming out of the park, not going down.
Right.
And the sign that where it is now, I know Paul had put that at the end of the bridge. I talked with Travis and I talked a little bit with Micah, and they say it really should be up on this side of the bridge. And again, now you're getting onto Micah's driveway, or you're getting onto Travis's house. So we'd have to have some conversations to see if we did decide to move that up. Where it was way up was too far up. Where it is now, it's a little bit far back. But the other ones are right in front of people's houses. So the question is, do we leave it where it's at? It does work. It is effective. Slows me down. So
Yeah. And Paul, I see your hand. You were definitely involved in this, in some of the speed study.
Well, when we put that sign that's by Stomsky's, right there by the intersection, it was designed so it could be reversed during different seasons, so you can get the traffic coming up Depot Street out of the park by aiming at that direction. So the sign can be reversed depending on whether school's in session or not, or where the major traffic issue is. So
Yeah.
that may be an option.
well, I think you need to have it in both directions, because people come in down that hill and people coming out of the park, just, they don't care. They're on it. They get past the school, they get past the bridge, and it's the school, and it's just wide open that straightaway until they get to Stomsky's. And we had talked about putting one right there, kind of where that stone wall isn't like a stone wall there, kind of at the corner of Stomsky's property. So they come around the corner, or I don't remember exactly. Maybe we can go out and look at it.
When they come out of the park, they have no idea what the speed limit is. I mean, unless
Correct.
they remembered it from
There's
last
no
Friday
sign.
night.
Correct.
So there should be one there. If that's an identified area where people are speeding. We haven't had a cart
But-
down there. We don't know, but we can guess.
But we wanted to slow them down right when they were coming into the village. That's what the plan
Yeah.
was. So
And
instead
there's
of
a little bit,
whizzing by, like I say, right now, they just speed right out. They don't even know. And then next thing you know, they come up to Route 30. So
and we've got 4 signs and there's only 2 of them up. We should have them up. There's a cost involved with putting the little slab in there, but that's something that Keith can do. It's minimal really.
do you want to
Um,
meet sometime, Greg, and we can look at it again with Keith? Maybe tomorrow,
I would definitely jump in on that.
Thursday this week.
yeah,
I'm
for sure.
home.
I think the biggest thing is that we have them sitting around doing nothing, and let's
Yeah.
go find a place for them until we get the state thing figured out. And if we do get that figured out, then we'll entertain the idea of buying another one.
Perfect. I support that. So if you want to, if anyone else too wants to come and take a peek, I don't remember, maybe Paul, if you're willing to come out, because we had cited some site, I don't remember where we cited it, but I think it's valuable to go back and say, oh yeah, this was the spot, remember? Because we looked at like 3 or 4 different spots coming up out of the park, but I don't remember which one we said was the best one.
Just let me know when you want to take a look. I'll come with you.
Okay, this week, Greg, Thursday, I'm around. home, so I can,
When you guys have a time, do you mind just shooting us an email and whoever's around could join?
yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll do.
3 people need a quorum.
we'll.
Oh, I'm not a quorum.
Yeah,
Never
we
mind.
can't get a quorum.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's an observational exercise. So I think as long as no decisions are made, I think we can probably, even if there are 3 or more members of the board.
We can figure it out and enough
Right.
in advance. We can always warn a meeting.
If we have to,
Thursday-
yeah.
Thursdays, yeah, I'll start with Tom and we'll get a time. Thursdays could work, has to be morning for me Thursday, but most of the other days I'm flexible.
Thursday morning, boy, that's like the worst. Thursday.
Yeah. Well, let's take the time, let's take it offline for that. So we can
Thursday
keep
at
the
10,
meeting
I
moving.
can do 10 to 11.
The purpose is just to observe, is that correct? To kind of,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, last time we actually cited, because Keith was like, this is, I mean, we would basically say, obviously it can't be around a curve. So it has to be a pretty straight shot. And like I say,
Right.
and Paul, it was Paul and Keith and I, and were you there, Greg? Or no,
I
think
was.
Lexa was there too, because she is road commissioner. The 4 of us went out and we said, here's where we're gonna put them. I mean, we actually made the decision. The board had given us the ability to make that decision.
Okay.
So we were
Well,
just.
we could do that if you want to vote.
Yeah, this doesn't work because it's around a corner, or the one was too close to Route 30, and so you basically, it never got up to speed, so people, it was just a bad spot. So.
Right, but if that's something that could happen, do we want to take a vote now that whatever group, you know, gathers for this purpose is authorized to make a decision on behalf of the board, at least until, you know, such time as the board takes a different action?
I'll still move that.
I'll make the motion to nominate Tom to spearhead a committee to authorize the location. of
And
a
are
sign.
you authorizing me and that committee to make the decision? Or are you
Yes.
just telling I gotta
Yes.
come back and ask? Okay, that's
No,
fine.
I
No,
would,
make the
I say
placement
make
and
the decision.
report back.
with
Okay,
the input of Keith and
Keith,
whoever else can.
and
can be-
anyone else who can be there, and
Whoever else
Paul, I'll
shows
call you
up.
and bring you into, that's fine.
I second that motion.
All in favor of having Tom take the bull and run? Say aye.
Aye.
We're gonna slow this
opposed?
traffic down.
It's approved for members. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you, those cars coming down, I know, Joel, you live on Route 30, but those cars coming through town are, it's obscene. Like,
It is,
it's been terrible.
it is.
Yeah.
The times I've been up there, and it's just, they're flying through at 50, 60 miles an hour. It's crazy.
It makes a lot of sense. Right now, it doesn't seem like we're getting too much quick response from the state, but we're still gonna keep pushing.
Okay.
Um,
I'll call Terry on that. Maybe I'll call him.
Number 7, we're gonna move to the next week. Just so people know what's going on, Rob Simmons had sent an update on the bridge abutments on Rawson Bridge there, and that they've deteriorated more over the course of spring. So we're gathering some information maybe to make a decision on what and if, but anyways, that's not enough information for this meeting. An update, just this is so that everybody's aware what's going on too. Charlie's got together, proposed some revisions to the traffic ordinance and some of his reasonings behind it and some other supporting document from neighboring towns. I will forward that to everybody to review, and we can discuss at our next meeting, but just so you know the timing of that, we're trying to move somewhat quickly on that. I mean, there is the ordinance adoption process that takes several months almost. But just to hopefully have something ready to roll by, mid to peak summer regarding parking. So that's coming too, for all of us to review, and then we'll have the legal counsel have the Nick review it too. That's that. Bada bing. So there are a couple other, the add-ons.
Yeah, I could talk about the IT stuff. I called Justin McCourty today. He's the consultant who installed the wireless hotspot at the town hall. As you remember, 2 months ago, I came to the board and said, hey, we're going to expire in 60 days. And you guys approved me to purchase a license. So I called him up. I called I called him up and I sent him an email and said, hey, can we buy this from you guys? Because, you know, you guys set it up. And he's like, they're still trying to get funding from the state. So what they're going to do is just give us 30-day extensions until hopefully they can get funded by the state, and then we don't have to pay for it. So that I talked to him today and he's like, yeah, I'll get it done. He's like, they're going to all the towns who got these hot spots, and he's just putting them give them 30-day extensions all the way until hopefully the state funds it through either COVID money or whatever grants from the federal government. And then we won't have to pay for it. So that's my update. I also have put the town meeting video on the website. And so that's out there as well, if anyone wants to go see town meeting.
Okay.
Oh, and then
The other-
Sarah, there was one more thing too. Sarah has sent me an email too about, and I'm exploring it, but apparently we can now get a .gov internet address for the town. And I'm researching it. And obviously that would mean the town website would change addresses. We potentially would have Jamaica, Vermont.gov email addresses, which changes those. So it's not, it's a bigger project than just saying, yeah, let's switch everything over, because there will be some disruption. Potentially we could redirect some things, but the email is probably going to be the biggest thing. So I'm just starting to look into it. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
it. That's all I got from IT land.
All right. So the other item here, Terry mentioned this to me, that last year we kind of, I don't remember the actual vote or the decision for how long, but to extend everybody's time frame that they can use their vacation days, their sick pay and that kind of thing. And it made a lot of sense last year because really nobody was going anywhere. You know, it was all hands on deck. There are some accrued days or hours, I guess it's listed at, and I shared that just real recently, just prior to the meeting. But whether or not we want to discuss or decide tonight or look at it more, but the question was whether we want to push that out or allow people more time to use up their vacation days. I think it's, I don't know what you want to call it. Our policy is that it expires at the end of the fiscal years. So it includes the road department, the office crew, Dan at the transfer station, and a few other, I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I don't know if anybody wants to entertain that or think about it. I can't remember how long we extended it for last year. I didn't have a chance to ask Terry if any of these hours that are still remaining that now are some of last year's hours, if they've been still accruing. But that's, any thoughts on that?
We can't compensate them. They have to take it in time.
I don't know if that's, I mean, we could probably decide
Does
that.
Sarah
but
know
I don't
that? Do you know, Sarah, if you have to, if town employees have, okay.
I
That's
think
just
we have to
curious.
we'd have to talk to Terry about that,
Yeah,
just kind of
sometimes Sarah,
applying.
sometimes Sarah knows a lot of stuff.
Right, right. Well, it's just that there'd have to be a specific kind of reserve against these days in order for the budget
For the money.
to accommodate
Right, that's
converting
just
this to
curious.
cash. Just, I mean, we just saw this, so, but you know, some of these numbers are pretty eye popping. I don't know, do we want to talk about it in an executive session? Which I sort of think from a corporate perspective, of course, it has nothing to do with towns, but on a corporate level, this would be discussed kind of internally within HR. Sort of, you know,
Yeah,
before.
I didn't push it to executive session. I wasn't thinking so much the actual hours or dollars, but more the conceptual side of it. But maybe we can't talk about the conceptual side. And maybe too, it needs a little bit more research. I mean, I'm kind of hearing that, and I'm kind of seeing it myself, that we need to get some questions answered first.
Right. And I totally agree that this should be a policy issue. It's just that right now we happen to have in front of us individuals, you know, names associated with certain accrued days. So I'd be a little bit more comfortable discussing that in executive session versus, do you know what I'm saying?
No, that totally makes sense. I think I was bringing it up more as a conceptual thing.
Okay,
So I guess, I
If
mean,
we're
what I'm
going-
hearing is that conceptually, we want to consider it.
right.
So if
Um,
we're going into executive session anyway later, why don't we just?
Why don't
talk
we,
about-
right.
Well, we can't literally dump things together. We have to
Yeah,
have
you're
two
right.
executive
Yeah.
sessions.
Well, my take on it is, I mean, what's the problem? I mean, if people couldn't take the vacation, then we say you have to take it within the next 3 months or something like that. Or 6 months or something. That's what my job did. We said, because they switched the vacation policy, if you carried over any time, you had this period to use it. And if you don't use it by that period, you lose it, you know? And so that would be, you know, say you have to use everything by August. When we at May, so you say by the end of August or by the end of September, and
As long as it's not too disruptive to any particular operation.
No road
correct,
crew.
of course not. Well, that's
Right.
all.
Right, Brian?
But that's the same as any of it is. I mean, you're right. Some of these people have a lot of vacation.
And as long as we have the money to support it in our next budget year or can fiscally handle that, yeah.
Right, right.
Paul, I see you just, I mean, probably has some background or history of something similar.
When I was in a position to talk about these kinds of things, I discussed this with Terry back when we were trying to figure out how to do this. The idea was to be able to take the time, if possible. The time they haven't been able to take it. We only have 2. We don't have like 14 people to choose from here. We only have 2 people in that office. And so if one of them has 3 weeks and says, I got to take it before next Tuesday, we're in trouble. So the question was whether or not, since the money is already allocated for them to be paid for their time off, if they continue to work, how then does it work in the budget? Or does it do that much to the budget since the money's already there if we pay them in lieu of the days off? That thing wasn't resolved because it was kind of the thinking process of how we put it together ad hoc at the time. How you guys want to go forward with it when they're not going to be in your executive session. Think in terms of, we've already budgeted the money for them to be gone. We only have 2 people in the office. So if one person's gone for 2 or 3 weeks, that's a tough for the other person.
Right.
So those kinds of things need to be played out in real time when you guys decide how to do that. But keep in mind, that was the kind of discussion we had and the way they were operating for the last year or so, with that in mind.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember how, I know it kind of came up for discussion. I don't remember. Let's table this to next time, do a little bit of homework with finding out how we can handle it, both physically with staffing, but also fiscally.
And we have until July 1.
Right, but we don't want to wait till June
Of course.
28th and say, you
Of course not.
gotta use them next week.
I'm asking.
Okay. Thank you for that. Before getting into the executive session on another matter, just a quick, everybody again, review the pay orders, timesheets. It looks pretty straightforward to me. Any other public concern, Joel?
Yeah, you know that I'm on the board of Southeast Vermont Transit. And I just want to mention that there's some movement towards the idea of having development along Route 30, which bottom line is the possibility of bus route.
Oh.
So I'm not at liberty to give too many details. I just want you to know that you should think of the value of it to the town of Jamaica.
And it would come up through and to, or maybe that's even more information than you can, but it would go through Jamaica or to Jamaica?
It would go up as far from Brattleboro to possibly Stratton Mountain.
Yep, okay. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Keep us posted or let us know what else you may need from support.
I will. It's too soon to do that now, but it is moving along. And
Yep.
it is in the hands of government,
Oh, so that gives you some sense of the timing.
right? The feasibility study is what would be next.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay. I make a motion, there's no other public concerns. I will make a motion that we move into executive session
We gotta
to
say the
discuss.
thing.
Yeah.
Gotta say the thing.
Who's got the thing?
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Paul.
That we're adjourning the regular session.
During the regular session
No, there's the two, there's, what are those two? I don't know what they are. But you gotta say like, because of, who's got a.
Oh, yeah, right, because of
Did
the
I
need to
leave too
address an
soon?
issue. What?
Did I leave
Because
too soon?
So, yeah,
Because of-
I don't know, I'm looking
Because
here.
of the need to address an issue which might reveal confidences or sensitive information about an individual. The board is moving out of regular session and into executive session.
I'll second the motion. You gotta motion it and vote on it.
Any discussion? No, okay, move to vote.
All in favor of moving into executive session?
Aye.
Aye. Well,
Bye.
Bye.
by Paul. Okay, now you make a motion to go into executive session. First you say why, now I'm saying I'm making a motion to go into executive.
And I don't think I don't think we vote. I think we just go in.
Oh, we have.
No, we vote and then we
But
go
it
in and then we just come out.
One you have to say with a problem, and the next one you say, we agree it's a problem, go into executive session. It is a 2-vote process.
That is
Right.
correct.
Right.
Right.
And we're doing the second vote.
I just put the second vote on the table.
Get it. I second the motion to go into executive session. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye again.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Paul. Rich, I will record, I will pause this. I will record the end of the meeting when we adjourn and I'll send it to you tomorrow with the bigger
Great.
Bigger
Take
thing.
minutes of going in and out
Thank you much.
for Sarah.
Welcome.
So it is 8:51 and we're coming out of executive session. No decision was made at this time. We will gather some information and reconvene the topic as necessary.
Make
And
a
now
motion.
we
Motion
are
to
back
adjourn.
into our regular meeting
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and
A second motion.
Welcome to the select board, Kate.
Welcome.
Yes,
Yay.
first meeting.
ambiguities.
Congrats.
Wow, it's a nice long one too, and you got executive
Yeah.
session. You got the whole thing right here.
Well, they're usually twice as long as this. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
stop, Andy.
The one that went to 9:30, that was brutal. That was one and I forget what that was, but it was good.
No,
Probably.
They didn't
Up
reach
in
you
the
out by
morning, I feel
9.
like I got a hangover.
Oh, hey, so oh, shoot, while we're out of meeting, shoot, I wanted to discuss changing the times. Can we discuss that at the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Discussion of whether we change our
Change-
time.
Like in the
So-
summer, move it up an hour or something. I don't know. I mean, we can't talk about it now because we're out of, we have to vote to get
Think
out.
about it. You can think about it
Yeah, something to think about
Earlier, later, earlier, later.
earlier.
earlier.
Yeah, so we've got, get
What
it
time do we eat dinner?
6 and then
Oh,
we're out
right.
by- if we
Right.
started the meeting at 6, it's 8 o'clock. And in June, it's still light out. You
I
know?
get that, yeah.
Yeah, it makes, that's.
I know, I can't.
Okay.
At 5, then we're
Anyway,
missing.
we can discuss later.
Okay, good.